Alright guys, so we're into the round 5 feature match at the 2014 West Virginia State Championship, our local store sponsored tournament for Mountain State bragging rights. On the left, we have an out-of-state compatriot joining us, Tom Medvec, coming from Sports Collectors Universe in Uniontown, PA, so just north of Morgantown, north of the West Virginia PA border, I should say. He is on Bant control, and his opponent is Alan Pack, who plays at Lost Legion down in Beckley. And he is on Mono Blue Devotion, so back-to-back Mono Blue decks, which is kind of surprising, because I kind of thought, not to use a cliche, but I kind of thought that wasn't a deck anymore. Like, it's definitely not as strong as it used to be.
Well, if everyone's playing red-green instead of mono-black,
it's a good metagame call for this tournament, it seems. A lot of people are copying the results of yesterday's Star City Open, which was half of the top 8 red-green monsters. In which case, you're exactly right, Garrett, the Mono-Blue Devotion matchup is very favorable to that field.
We saw Alan play a turn 1 Coffin Raptor into turn 2 Judges Familiar. Then evolve it, and then an attack after Tom had played a Shockland untapped. Gets a quick Azorius Charm on the Cloudfin Raptor.
I also don't think Alan, if he had to draw up his dream scenario, would be one in which he played a turn 2 Judges Familiar, then a turn 3 Judges Cloudfin Raptor, and what seems like he is missing his 4th land drop as well.
There's a Tidebinder Mage.
Do we really want to count it? Like, this is the point at which Tom is like an embarrassment of riches. Like, do I care about this grizzly bear? Well, I thought it was an Essence Scatter, but if you have a Syncopate, then that's fine, because the Syncopates are quickly going to be irrelevant anyway.
Right. And it also prevents the Cloudfin Raptor from evolving.
Sure. This is a classic example. We talk about this all the time on our F&M stream, but this is a classic example of what kind of awful cards are in the Mono Blue deck. Like, this is just, it looks like a bad draft deck, because you are forced to play awful cards in order to take advantage of the extremely powerful devotion mechanic.
And the blue-white deck, very well equipped to fight this deck, as it runs Last Breath's main and can keep the devotion count low. If we see a Cyclonic Rift.
We bounce a Jace there.
Yeah, that must have been it, because we tapped 4 for something. I didn't.
Well, the reason you didn't see it was because I forgot to put this round sponsor up, which is Analog Entertainment, I believe in Buchanan.
Could have easily been a Kiora too.
And then Alan plays a Jace of his own, and we split, and I did not see what he took either.
I think the split was two lands and dissolve.
And Bird Tribal Beatdown continues as, is he a 14 or 13?
We're just taking 1 here.
I mean, Jace obviously is a real card, and it looks like it was a Jace that Tom played last turn. I'm either going to -2 trying to find that 5th land. So it's Verdict, Kiora, or Breeding Pool. So this is there 3 better cards that he could have shown? Because he wants that land more than anything.
Well, he's getting 1 Verdict. We saw the Syncopate on turn 3, which clearly indicated that he did not have a Spring Verdict. So this is a card that he was looking for.
Oh, and Tom decides to take the pile of land and Kiora, which is...
He's had 3 draw steps since then.
Yeah.
So. Or he just syncopated whenever he had a verdict in the hand anyway. Could have been multiple scenarios. He could have multiple verdicts in his hand, which would be a good reason to shove that one. There is a Bident of Thassa. Unfortunately not going to evolve this Cloudfin Raptor, so we swing with 1 Thieving Magpie.
Yep.
Not even a Thieving Magpie, though.
Well, I mean, thank goodness Tom didn't tick up his Jace, and he needed to dig for lands, because otherwise that Judge's Familiar wouldn't even get in there. And by playing the Bident, I mean, we can find a second land and then another 2-drop. We at least find a Mutavault, so that will help us.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have to Verdict here, I would think, just to prevent the scenario, depending on what your hand is. I mean, you could tick Jace up, and that answers the Cloudfin and the Judge's Familiar. So I guess you don't have to verdict here.
Or if you have a D-sphere for the Bant of Thassa.
I think what I do, not knowing the contents of Tom's hand, other than the fact that he has a another Kiora, is I would tick up Jace, Kiora the Mutavault, and pass back.
So he didn't take a verdict last time.
Mm-hmm.
I think you give him land verdict and put the detention sphere in his own pile this turn.
Yeah, I agree. Seems unlikely that the game state has changed such that he wanted the verdict this time, as Alan has posed no additional creature-based threats.
You kind of have to assume that he has a detention sphere already. Means that these blue-white decks run 4, and his last turn was spent playing a Jace, so he could have easily had a detention sphere last turn. So now giving him 2 detention spheres, possibly. Like I don't think that there was a scenario where he was taking that verdict.
No, I think you're exactly right, and I think you just basically give him a free island out of that split. I think the logic is sound.
Now the question is, this Jace is on 3 counter, so it's going to get an activation and stick around, so it's a definitely detention sphere worthy target, but also Biden is one of the most powerful cards whenever you have Biden plus creatures on field.
Yeah, I mean, the longer the game goes, the more difficult that Biden is going to be to beat. But I mean, this game could have been over. I mean, it could have been over if Alan had been able to attack with that Cloudfin Raptor and drawn a card.
Yeah.
You know, that the turn that Tom was completely tapped out. But I mean, this is Alan has drawn 2 creature threats, and they're both 1 or less power creatures.
We played a Kiora and we plus one it. Now we're targeting the Judge's Familiar, and Alan does have a Mutavault in play, which Kiora can also shut down.
Yeah, but he's also representing Azorius Charm here, which looks like he might want to Azorius Charm the Mutavault.
And it could be that he doesn't care about going from 12 to 11. The difference between the Cloudfin Raptor, the Judge's Familiar, the Mutavault attacking, and he just wants to make Alan spend his mana to activate Mutavault.
Sure. I see a Master of Waves in Alan's hand.
Yeah, if we're playing this to Azorius Charm, or Last Breath.
Last Breath is the equivalent at that point.
We definitely want to get the Mutavault over the Judge's Familiar. However, that did tap him out, and Alan did not activate his Judge's Familiar to save his Mutavault.
That is a very interesting point, especially considering... it's been a long day. I'm losing my train of thought. Alan hasn't played Magic in, I think, 2 months.
Okay.
So, I do know Alan used to be kind of a grinder down in Beckley, but then I think stepped away from the game slightly. I think he won the qualifier for this, so it was free. So I figured he'd come up with Joel, who was running the booth for the store.
And there could be a reason that he wants the devotion of the Cloudfin Raptor as well. Like it's not obvious that.
Yeah, I don't think it's the most agreed. It's clearly not a play mistake. It's definitely a choice that he could have made.
And here we see why he didn't take the 2 verdicts that were offered to him. He had that verdict all along.
And there's a D-sphere. Are we taking out the Thassa? Are we taking out the Jace or the Biden? Arguments could be made for any of them. The Biden not necessarily an issue at this point. I think the Jace is and he tends to agree.
We're still 2 devotion away from fighting a Thassa, or fighting with Thassa. And if we had a creature, we would have definitely played it last turn. We're plus wanting. I don't know if we targeted anything, because I didn't see anything pointed to. I would assume that the most threatening permanent on the field is the Thassa.
Well, it's the only thing that can do any damage to him, so it would be a good choice.
Did he lay down a second Mutavault? I think he did.
No, that's a Nykthos, I think.
Oh, okay.
And that, for whatever reason, on the right side of the feature match area today is where right in the middle of the field is where we're getting the most intense glare. So, apologies for that.
So we're going to filter our Nykthos into blue mana.
4 mana for a Master of Waves, which is going to resolve, and we know that there are 2 Supreme Verdicts on the bottom of Tom's deck, and he's already used one.
Yep.
And he just used a D-Sphere on the Thassa, so Alan's not out of this by any means. He's going to make 1, 2, the Biden is 2, right?
Yeah, the Biden is 2. So there's 4 devotion. The blue-white deck has a lot of answers to this Master Waves, though. Could be a Last Breath, as we see coming down now on Tom's side. So we're going to shoot Alan up to 24, take care of all of those. What seemed like a big problem.
Well, it only seemed like a problem.
We are pointing at the Thassa for the +1 Kiora, which is going to ultimate next turn.
Yeah, the Master only seemed like a threat given the fact that Tom had expended some resources that do a very good job of answering the Master in and of itself. I mean, obviously his deck is full of answers to a card like Master. All of his removal is turned on when it comes to that. It's not like a Storm Breath or something where he's going to be limited by the sweepers or some kind of splash color.
Well, since there's a lot of red-green control floating around, some of these blue-white decks are going to move towards Celestial Flare instead of multiple Last Breaths. So
Sphinx is rep for 2, end of turn.
Well, no, this would be in response. Well, no, the Thassa is locked down by the Kiora, but now the Thassa is a creature, so I was thinking that he could have got an attack in. So yeah, this is an end of turn rev and then untap and make an emblem. So Tom looking very, very good in this game.
Yeah, there's no way you beat the. There's no way the blue deck beats the. Huh?
Better watch what you say.
Garrett referring to what is this token? It's
is that the guy from the
Return of the Titans?
Yeah.
It's what's the actor's name?
Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
Where he says, "Release the Kraken."
Well, he has a certain set of skills. They're going to take you. There's a D-sphere targeting Thassa, I would assume. Actually, there's an argument to be made for targeting the Bident because Thassa. Well, we've binned our Kiora at this point, so we don't have unlimited Thassa hate.
I do like that Thassa. I love that.
Well, I mean, if you're going to release the Kraken, you should let Liam Neeson do it. And that gets rapidly hybridized.
It gets shrunk into a frog lizard, so our green creature got turned into a green creature. And Alan's seeing the writing on the wall here, and Alan packing it in.
Heyo. And bad pun of the round goes to Garrett Meadows on commentary, but Alan Pack falls to a Kiora emblem. He's seen enough, and we, as always, appreciate the courtesy scoop, rather than continuing to play in a game state where he was clearly not coming back from. I mean, there are situations in which he could come back, but he was basically hell-bent at that point, and it's, his draw could not have been worse. He drew, excluding Thassa, which is rarely a creature anyway, he drew a Cloudfin Raptor, a Judge's Familiar, and one Master of Waves. Yeah. That's usually not how you draw it up. But I do want to, again, mention this round's sponsor, Round 5, brought to you by Analog Entertainment, which is located in Buchanan, running free F&Ms at 8 o'clock each Friday. So don't know exactly what's going on in terms of their prize support or structure, but you still get to play an F&M for free.
You give them 2 packs.
You give them 2 packs. It's free.
Winner gets to give the store 8 packs.
We kid, obviously, but if you're in that area, Buchanan, a convenient drive from all of the northern West Virginia cities of interest, Clarksburg, Bridgeport, Buchanan, obviously, Morgantown, Fairmont, and the like. If you're in that area and looking for a change of pace or looking for a store to play at, go over to Analog Entertainment for free F&Ms at 8 o'clock each week. And things like that, but he has a good point. There is definitely a chance to minus it in that case.
Yeah. And I think the more people get used to playing with this card, like there were obviously situations there if Tom wasn't going to go for the ultimate, that he could have minus Kiora. The board was safe enough. But that's a discussion for another time. As we see Game 2 getting underway, we did see Alan mulligan to 6.
And Alan has this, as we see, a Gainsay in his hand. Alan, the problem with the mono blue deck is, and we talked about it before in the last round, the problem with the mono blue deck is it's such a synergistic deck. And the cards in and of themselves are so bad sometimes. And the deck gets worse against the control decks in the sideboarded games.
Yes.
Because while it does bring in gainsays or negates or some combination thereof,
you're disrupting what synergy you did have.
Yeah, you had to take out some card that you wanted in your deck to begin with. Usually a creature threat.
Well, you disrupt the good synergy you did have to be able to fight their cards because their good cards against you are in the main board. Like their Detention Sphere or their Spring Verdict are the best cards against you.
Yep.
So you have to fight them on their level, which is countering their Sphinx Revelations.
Exactly.
So you have to make your deck worse just to have a shot.
It's also it's a tough road to hoe when the best card against you in their deck is one you can't counter.
Right.
We know from last round, Rick Pittman splashing white in his mono blue deck for Rootborn defenses is an answer.
Yeah.
But other than that, the blue deck doesn't really have a legitimate answer. A legitimate answer to an uncounterable Wrath.
You see, the first spell that Alan's going to try here is a Thassa, and we saw Tom shock himself last turn, or on his turn 3, to get 3 lands untapped into play. And we see him try to dissolve this Thassa, but Alan fights right back with the Gainsay.
Which is great, and usually indicates that Tom doesn't have a detention sphere. If Tom does in fact have a detention sphere, this will be the most crestfallen Alan pack you'll ever see. The 4 mana here for either a Jace or a Kiora. It is in fact Kiora, the Crashing Wave, targeting Mutavaults. So we do have the opportunity here to, and he's got Azorius Charm mana up, so everything's going to go poorly, I think. But you do have the option, scrying now off of Thassa's ability. You do have the opportunity to play Night Veil Spectre in 1-drop and activate Thassa, but that's just going to get Azorius Charmed, and it's just going to be the biggest blowout.
The blowiest of outs?
Yeah.
We see another Gainsay in Alan's hand. It's easy to identify if he has any islands, since he has all these nice full lore islands. The second Mutavault. So from Alan's side, he could be thinking that,
Is it a Bident?
that looks like a Bident, yeah.
Based on where he's putting it in the, he's going to Gainsay in response.
Yeah, there was the negate. You could have easily ruled out Last Breath on. I don't.
Yeah, I do. Right. You continue here.
As we see Tom untap and consider his options. From Alan's side, you can rule out Last Breath as a card that Tom would have had, because we saw the +1 from Kiora last turn, and I think if you're Tom and you left 2 mana up, you definitely want to Last Breath that Mutavault, given the chance. We see a Detention Sphere come down, take out the Thassa regardless, and we're going to lock down one of those Mutavaults with the Kiora's +1. So here comes the attack with the Mutavault, and that's going to get an Azorius Charm, and we do see a Last Breath. So Tom, we're gonna dissolve this Last Breath. There are 3 counterspells out of Alan, fighting over keeping this Mutavault alive, which is a very important card in this matchup.
Did we desphere the Thassa?
We did, and we smacked a Kiora to drop it back down to 2. Instead of going for the face and drawing a card off of Bident, which I think is the right choice.
Well, I don't know. Tom has a Mutavault of his own, so there's a chance if you don't do that, you might never get another chance to attack it.
Well, the other thing is, like, if we lose our Mutavault there to the Last Breath, the other Mutavault's not going to ever attack the Kiora, because Kiora's very good at locking down.
Yeah, Kiora is very good against the decks that put out 1 threat a turn.
Yeah, so all the counterspells drawn from Alan seem to have been doing him good, but obviously against this Kiora are putting him in a disadvantage.
If Tom doesn't have the Detention Sphere, and it seemed like he didn't have that at some point, because just the way he was aggressively counterspelling things. If he didn't have the Detention Sphere, then Alan would be in a pretty good spot. As again, he's struggling to find. Again, that's what we're talking about. He's drawn 2 of his sideboard cards. He's drawn a Gainsay and a Gate, and it's helped him resolve a Thassa and a Bident. But the Thassa still gets lost to a D-Sphere. Now he has no other devotion other than the Bident. Right. You know, so it's just, that Thassa could have never attacked. Mutavault's trade. And there's a Night Veil Spectre, which is going to meet a dissolve. I just don't think the mono blue deck can definitely put up a better fight against the Bant control deck, but Alan's draws have just been. It's a rough go as it is, and Alan's draws have just been so suboptimal.
And Tom's draws have lined up very well against them.
Yep. And the embarrassment of riches continues as Tom lands an Elspeth Suns champion. Alan likely going to lose to the Kiora by itself, but definitely now up against it, with only one source of damage in a Mutavault, which is locked down by Kiora, now facing down an active Elspeth as well. And given the end of Game 1, I think we're very close to seeing Alan scoop him up here. Well, here's a Cyclonic Rift.
Yep.
Not too shabby. I spoke a little bit too soon here. Now, the problem is that Tom is at a healthy 18 life, and Alan has no creatures on board other than the Thassa, which can attack this turn, and is going to get de-sphered immediately.
Right.
But Tom is just going to replay all the goodies in his hand. You know, Cyclonic Rift is one of those cards that it's great in this situation in that it buys you some time.
Yeah, it's not actual upheaval.
You want to do it when you are ahead on board, even if slightly.
Yeah.
And there was no point in this game where Alan was able to nudge ahead. So replay the D-Sphere on Thassa, replay the Kiora, targeting the Mutavault once again. And now Alan playing off the top. There's a replacement Thassa, which is almost irrelevant at this point. That Bident we've played on turn 4, we fought over it with the negate to get it to resolve. We have not drawn a single card off of it.
So we're going to continue to lock down the Mutavault. But Tom looks to lock this one up as he can redeploy his Elspeth this turn. And then it's just a matter of time from there.
Well, this is one of those games that's been over for a long time, but Tom's still obliged to actually kill Alan.
I mean, if the last cards in Tom's hand are non-interactive with what Alan has, Alan is just, say, a Night Veil Spectre or a Tidebinder Mage, and then a Overloaded Cyclonic Rift from getting right back into this game. So it's worth.
There it is.
It's
turn 400 Cloudfin Raptor.
It's worth playing out, I'd say, from Alan's end.
I would like to put Cloudfin Raptor up there in the paragon up there in the ranks of Step Links as best card you could play on turn 1, worst possible card you could play on turn 12.
We see a lot of mana getting dumped into this Mutavault as it is activated and now unblockable.
So we're going to get in and get the Kiora. Oh, it's the last breath. Just too much. Tom, all answers all the time. And we've seen a lot of this today in our feature matches. Obviously, these players getting to around 5 undefeated. They're not by any means slouches. But sometimes you just run into matchups, and sometimes the draws in games just don't make them as interactive as you would normally want them to be. I mean, Tom piloting this deck very well, but just really don't feel like comparing the two draws that Alan ever had a chance in this game.
No.
And I really think that the mono blue deck is up against it in the matchup, you know, in and of itself. But Tom definitely has all the answers all the time.
This is how the matchup should go on paper. So it's not surprising.
So I guess if we find some mana symbols here, here's another Bident. They're legendary, aren't they?
They are legendary.
This is the part where Alan hasn't played Magic in 2 months. I know for a fact that he picked this deck up. Someone handed it to him before the tournament starts.
So that's a situation where Tom says, "Resolved. Which one would you like to sacrifice?"
Yeah. Luckily for Alan, that will not cost him the game in any way. It would be much more. I think there was a famous Star City Open standard several years ago in which Patrick Sullivan played a second Koth, and then found out that Planeswalkers could not be, or had the legend rule. Well, he ended up winning that tournament, so don't worry about it, but he did definitely do that thing I described. So 6 soldiers inbound, knocking Alan down to 15. Elspeth is on ultimate, so this game is going to be over 1 Cup Island off the top, and Alan's going to get his money's worth and make
He's going to Fabiano it.
Well, I mean, you got 20 minutes left on the clock. I mean, the matchup has gone so poorly for you to begin with. The worst you could do is make him play that. So tick up Kiora, ultimate. Oh, we don't even. Well, there's actually no fundamental reason to ultimate Elspeth at this point. Alan down to 6. I guess an overloaded Cyclonic Rift is reasonable, but there we see the handshake. Another island off the top for Alan. So well done to Tom Medvec. He moves to 5-0 on the day. I think 6-0 will be able to double draw in. I think that's a possibility. I would have to look at the exact standings, but that seems
the way it works.
Seems pretty standard. So he's one away from locking up a top 8 berth. Alan suffering his first loss of the evening, but obviously still well in control of his own fate. And again, we want to thank the folks at Analog Entertainment in Buchanan, West Virginia, for sponsoring this round and sponsoring the event as a whole. And remember, if you're regional to Buchanan, free F&Ms each week at 8 o'clock p.m. You taking